Picking a UniFi switch sounds simple at first. You count how many cables you have, and you buy a switch with that many ports, and you move on. But that's how many businesses end up with a switch that runs out of ports in 6 months, or doesn't have enough PoE power for access points and cameras, or creates a bottleneck within their network as it can't deal with the speeds that they're looking to have it perform at. The right UniFi switch isn't necessarily the biggest one you can get. It's one that gives your business enough ports, enough power, enough speed, and enough room for growth without wasting money on features that you will never use. In this video, I'm going to break down the UniFi switch lineup and help you figure out which one makes sense for your office, shop, warehouse, or multi-location business. First, what does a switch actually do? Your internet gateway connects you to the internet, and your Wi-Fi access points create your wireless coverage. Your switch is basically the part in the middle that lets your wired devices connect within your building. This could be your computers, your printers, phones, cameras, wireless access points, servers, door access systems, and the list goes on. Think of a switch like a traffic system inside your building. It helps your devices communicate with one another, and it provides them power to power up. The power is called PoE, or Power over Ethernet. It is what lets you install a Wi-Fi access point or a security camera without needing to run an extra cable to power on the device. So when you're choosing a switch, there are really 4 questions that you need to answer. How many devices do I want to plug in? Is there enough PoE power for these devices? What are the network speeds I want these devices to communicate at? And how much growth do I expect within the next few years? For a business owner, the switch is not usually an exciting part about planning out a network, but it's one of the pieces that it can affect almost everything else within your network, so it needs to be chosen properly. A poor switch choice can mean that you don't have enough ports when you start trying to add more cameras or new staff, or another access point. It can also cause random wireless issues or camera problems because the device powers off because you don't have enough PoE to provide power to the device. A properly sized switch will also keep your network cleaner. Instead of having little unmanaged switches everywhere throughout your office, you can have one centralized switch where you can see everything that's connected and manage all the ports in one spot. It's not always going to be perfect this way. Sometimes you are required to have other switches within your network, but if you can centralize it to one spot, it will be better. The first thing to look at is port count. You don't just count the number of devices plugged in today. Make a quick list of everything that you need on your network, what's existing now, from printers to computers to access points, and then list everything that you think you could need within the next 2 to 3 years. This could include workstations, phones, printers, access points, cameras, servers, door access, network storage, you name it, the list goes on. As a rule, I try to not buy a switch that will be full on day one. I generally like it to be half full, and then that gives lots of room for growth in the future, but I realize that's not always feasible. The next thing you need to look into is your PoE budget. This is one of the most common mistakes. A switch might have 16 ports of PoE, but if you get 16 high-power PoE devices, those 16 ports may not actually be able to power those devices. You need to add up the power requirements of your devices. That could be your access points, your phones, your cameras, and other PoE devices, and you need to make sure there's enough power available on the switch for the demands of the devices. For example, if you have a couple standard access points and a few cameras, they may work just fine on a smaller PoE switch, but once you move into Wi-Fi 7 access points, higher-end cameras, door access hardware, and a large number of phones, the available PoE budget becomes way more important. Then there's network speed. For normal desktops, printers, phones, and standard cameras, 1 gigabit ports are all you need. But if you're deploying new Wi-Fi 7 access points and you want to benefit from the 2.5 gigabit link, or you have fast network storage or video editing workstations accessing data over the network, then you may want to look at 2.5 gigabit ports or 10 gigabit ports. The important thing is to look at the full path of your network. If you have a 2.5 gigabit access point, but nothing else in your network is linking it at that speed, it's basically useless. For a small office, a light switch can be a good fit. The Lite 8 PoE or the Lite 16 PoE are useful where you need basic gigabit networking and modest PoE for a few access points or cameras or phones. The Ultra line is useful for compact locations such as a branch office, retail counter, or utility room, or maybe a small network closet. It can provide a lot of flexibility in a small form factor, but make sure you choose the right power options for the devices you plan to run. For a typical office rack with more users and more PoE devices, the standard 24 PoE is a solid starting point. It's a good choice if you have a large number of 1 gigabit ports that need to be utilized or a moderate PoE capacity. Once you need more power, more available PoE ports or PoE++, For higher power hardware, look at the Pro lineup. A Pro 24 PoE is a strong choice for many small to medium-sized businesses with several access points, cameras, phones, server, and NAS. If you're installing Pro XG access points or you need a mix of 1 gigabit to 2.5 gigabit ports, then the Pro Max switches are usually where the conversation starts. They make more sense when you want faster access ports without jumping all the way to a 10 gigabit network, such as high-speed storage, production workstations, or heavy video workloads. Then the Pro XG switches are worth considering. But do not buy a 10 gigabit switch just because it sounds cool or you just want to have a 10 gigabit network. You want to make sure all the devices within your network actually support a 10 gigabit network, or again, it's completely useless. For business owners, start by making a list of what is connected to your current network today, then add the things that you expect you need to add soon, like cameras, phones, access points, store access, network storage, you name it. Don't worry about choosing the exact model switch that you need right away. Just get a clear picture of the devices, the PoE devices, and then your future plans for what devices you may need. Note how many of these devices will require PoE and what their power requirements are. When deciding which switch to get, ask these 4 questions. Does this switch have enough ports, including enough PoE ports? Does it have a large enough PoE budget? Do we have the right uplink speed? And will this make sense in 3 years? Also remember, on some of the Lite and standard switches, not every port supports PoE. Check the exact model before assuming that every device can be powered on a PoE port. After answering those questions, this will usually point you to which switch you need to get. The best UniFi switch for your business is not necessarily by buying the most expensive one you can find. It's about matching the switch that you are buying to the devices that you have and are planning to get and their PoE requirements. For a small setup, a Lite and Ultra may be a perfect fit. For a typical business rack, standard Pro to Pro Max often makes sense. And then for serious high-speed workloads, the Pro XG is where you want to start looking. Thank you for watching. If you're a business in need of IT support or IT planning, please reach out on our website and we'd love to chat. Have a great day.